Well, here we go. The Cage. We start out here. We'll cover this as well as the later, the Menagerie, where this episode is really arguably put to better use. We're all very glad that the series, mostly, made the changes it did. We needed Shatner as Kirk, Kelly as McCoy. This is non-negotiable, obviously. Though number one could have been kept, as long as it meant we still get the angelic Uhura. The Cage is, frankly, not a great episode of television. While we can appreciate the design of the Telosians and the apparent popularization they had upon illusion casting beings, telepathic entities in popular culture, this is not a compelling script production. The events just drag, hardly an example of what we would later call quality Star Trek. But a solid scaffold for what we would later refer to as bad or subpar Star Trek, which is a lot of it, quite honestly. So it has its legacy and was useful in a respect, certainly. I'm not overly fond of Jeffrey Hunter's performance as Pike. Whilst he did okay, not spectacularly, alongside John Wayne in Ford's classic feature The Searchers, Hunter does not inspire one to want a series with him as the lead starship captain. One has to consider whether this is more of a pragmatic pilot, to demonstrate the series' potential, the illusory worlds a means of demonstrating the production capabilities, so as to avoid writing in needless planets or continent hopping. Although, watching it just as a piece of screen entertainment, The Cage is, I think, undeniably lacking. I think Robert Butler does all that he can with the direction, but Gene Roddenberry's script is not an example of the man's writing gifts, if he so held any. Roddenberry created, but is not overly credited with the series' finest writing decisions or scripts. I love the original series of Star Trek. When it was gold, it was utter gold. And I love watching standard def renditions of the series, with the original effects included. I like seeing how people viewed this show on television from its premiere prior to remastered DVDs in the 21st century. You can see how it popped, dazzling colour for a television show of its time, and subsequently even how it drew in kid audiences, was compelling entertainment for adults looking for a break from cop shows or black and white westerns, and featured charismatic, likeable male leads, three of them, for the women in the crowds. I appreciate The Next Generation, where the ratio of good to bad episodes is not in its favour, and it goes on for much longer than the original series, which doesn't have an ideal ratio anyway, although, like the original series, when it is gold, it is utter gold. Deep Space Nine was incredibly consistent, though annoyingly similar to an equally impressive show known as Babylon 5, and the shows after this, Voyager, Enterprise, anything beyond that, I really have little or no time for. Point is, if I'm introducing someone to the original series, ain't popping on The Cage, not even going to show them the series from the start. It takes a while to get good, let's face it, and when it is good, even in Season 2, it is in spurts, really. I agree with Philip J. Fry's assessment of about 30 good ones, but the net positive of the show is unignorable, and remains cozy as pleasant light entertainment regardless of the quality of the episode. Well, for the most part, it does get fairly dire. Maybe some people want to stick up for this episode, maybe a novelization of the synopsis could be compelling, for a narrative does have potential, but in execution, I don't think this is a timeless piece of work by any serious metric. Oh well, moving forward, I'll probably regret this before the end of the season.